Hey there, craft files. Welcome to episode 9 of So Not Scary. In this episode, we're going to take a look at how we can make this adorable Christmas card using our handy dandy mini sewing machine. Yay! The first thing you need to keep in mind when you plan to sew paper with your sewing machine is that you need to keep a special separate sewing needle reserved for your paper or cardstock sewing project. Okay, so in my hand I've got some cardstock. Okay, this is actually good quality cardstock that I bought from Amazon. And for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can easily sew this using your mini sewing machine. So in my sewing machine, I have threaded blue thread everywhere. So there's ice blue thread in the top thread spindle, and there's blue thread in the bottom bobbin as well. Okay. Now, if you're unsure about how to thread your mini sewing machine, I'm posting links below to my quick and easy videos on how you can do exactly this very easily. Okay, so just follow those links and you'll be able to thread your mini sewing machine in no time at all. Having said that, I'm now going to raise the presser foot. So there's a lever behind the machine. I lift it up and my presser foot is going up. And now I'm going to take the cardstock, place it down, okay, and this time I'm going to use this silver foot plate as my guide because I'm not sewing anything in particular. We're just testing out how the machine sews paper. I'm going to lower the presser foot and I'm going to manually turn the hand wheel towards myself so that the needle goes into the cardstock. There, it's in. Okay, and now I'm going to attempt to sew this cardstock using the hand operated button. So I'm not using my foot pedal, I'm just using my hand. Okay, here we go. I wavered quite a bit from that silver footplate guide initially. I just remembered I'm following that. So I'm going to try and follow that now. Okay, I'm going to lift the presser foot again. Turn my cardstock sideways. Lower the presser foot and continue to sew. And I'm going to lift the presser foot again. Lift the needle out of the cardstock. Okay. Make a loop with the thread just after the tension disc. I've talked about this in my last video as well, and then I can easily take my project out from underneath the needle. Okay, so we are back and now we can take a look at how the mini sewing machine performed while sewing this piece of really nice thick cardstock. Okay, so let's take a look at the stitches. So this is the top of the cardstock or the front that you will be actually seeing when you sew, and the stitches have actually come through beautifully. There is literally no flaw. Now if I turn the cardstock over, you will see that the stitches did come through beautifully. Okay, there's again no snagging, no pulled thread. The needle pierced cleanly through the paper and the stitches are actually really quite nice. The only thing unusual about this, and something that I just noticed, is that, I hope you can see it, if I draw it close enough, you can see these little bumps running all the way along the stitches. And I'm presuming it's actually the feed dogs or the little runners that sit underneath the presser foot that guide the paper or fabric forward as you sew. So every time those feed dogs come up, they've got little serrated edges. They would have poked a little indentation into the cardstock. But that's fine, it's not done any damage to the front of our project. And to be fair, the back of the cardstock is pretty neat too. So now that you know how this sewing machine works with cardstock, let's quickly take a look at a really quick, easy and fun project that you can make because this is the perfect season for that. And I'm actually talking about cute little Christmas cards. Now every year I like to make Christmas cards for my very close friends at home, and I actually combine sewing paper and fabric together to make some really simple and special cards which have that personal touch to them. So let's go ahead and assemble our supplies, and I'll be right back with you in a sec. Now in my hand I've got a piece of cardstock measuring 12 centimeters that way and 9 centimeters that way, and I'm going to start using my watercolor pencils on it, and this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to take my blue color pencil and I'm going to color part of it using this blue color. Here we go. Okay, so the card has been colored using my light blue color pencil. I'm now going to go over it using my dark blue color pencil, but this time I'm just going to do bits of it in dark blue, not all the way. I'm just doing it as I go. Right, so that's now been colored in. The next thing we're going to do is actually tape this down onto my work surface so it doesn't warp. Okay, so let me show you how I do that. Okay, so in my hand I've got this white painter's tape. You could literally use any kind of sticky tape which is not very precious. Okay, and I'm going to actually tape the edges of this cardstock down onto my table. So I'm just leaving about half a centimeter of allowance and taping it down. So now I'm going to use my watercolor brush to wet the cardstock and make the colors bleed into each other. Here we go. That's a kind of effect. And now I'm going to just leave it here to dry nice and flat on my desk so that it doesn't warp. And the cardstock is nice and dry, so I'm just going to take the tape off and see whether it's actually flat or not. Right, let's have a look. Oh, look, see. I hope you guys can see this. It's nice and flat. And for the next step, I'm going to use 2 pieces of felt. Let me show you. Here I've got some green felt. I hope you all can see it. It's a very dark green, okay? And along with that, I've got some brown felt as well, okay? So here I've got some super cheap standard printer paper, and in order to create a pattern for this card, I'm going to fold this piece of paper in half, okay? And very roughly, I'm just going to draw out the shape of half a Christmas tree. I want to keep it super simple, so here we go. It's probably just gonna have 3 tiers. There, that's the top of the tree done. So now what I'll do is cut it out using a pair of ordinary scissors, which are not reserved for fabric. Yay, it's done. Now, when I open this, I have a perfectly symmetrical Christmas tree. Now I'm going to put this pattern on top of some green felt and show you how I'm going to cut that out. Okay, see you in a tick. I taped the pattern onto the felt and I made sure that the tape overlaps some of the paper and some of the fabric. So all around, can you see? The tape overlaps some of the paper and mostly fabric. And in that way, your pattern is perfectly flat against the fabric, making it super easy for you to cut. So only this last bit remains. And just to show you what I've done, I'm going to tape this last bit as well. Now that it's nice and secure, I'm going to start cutting this pattern out. But you need to make sure that you start with the more intricate pieces or intricate parts of the pattern first. So I'm going to start off with the smallest tip, working my way down towards the broader side, which is big and flat and easier to cut out. See how easily it pulls away? And there's our felt all cut out. I hope you can see it. I'll just lay it out flat, or maybe like this. It's cut out beautifully, and now we'll move on to the next step, which is cutting out the stem for this Christmas tree. For that, I'm just gonna hold up my cardstock one more time, place my tree in the middle, and just kind of eyeball how large a trunk we need. Okay, and to illustrate it a little more clearly, I'll take a ruler as well. And let's see, the trunk needs to be, can you see this? The trunk needs to be about 2.5 centimeters tall, and I think 2 centimeters wide. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a simple trunk on a piece of paper and show you how I do that. Back in a tick. I roughly measured out how much is 2.5 centimeters, which is about that big, and how much is 2 centimeters, which is about that wide. And I just eyeballed it and just winged a basic trunk shape. And now I'm just going to cut it out. So now what I'm going to do is do the same thing, stick it on some brown felt and cut it out like we just did with the green bit. See you in a bit. So in my hand is this cheap fabric glue. You can use it to stick fabric onto fabric or fabric onto paper as well. So let me quickly show you how we're going to stick this felt on top of the cardstock. So we'll start with the tree trunk, okay? And I'm going to just put tiny dots of the glue, really tiny ones, okay? 1, 2, 3. There, that's all I need. And that's all you need. And I'm going to just turn this around and position it right in the middle of my cardstock and glue it on, okay? I'm going to repeat the same thing with the piece of green felt. And before I start to sew this thing, I'm gonna give it a few minutes just so the glue sets a little bit. So let's just leave it there for 5 minutes and then come back to move on to the next step, which is sewing the cardstock. See you in a bit. So now we are ready to start sewing our cardstock. So what I've done is on top here I've put invisible thread, and this will cut down on our time. So that's on top, the invisible thread is on top, and in the bottom bobbin case I've just got a regular nondescript blue colored bobbin that I showed you earlier. I'm not even going to attempt to change that because that's going to be hidden away. That thread is going to be hidden away underneath this cardstock. We won't be seeing it. So that's all there is to it. Now I'm going to go ahead and start sewing the card. So let me change the camera angle and show you how we do that. Okay, so we are in front of our sewing machine. I've got the cardstock with me with the felt pieces stuck on, and I'm now going to start sewing the whole thing together, okay? I think I'm going to start right here at the peak of the Christmas tree, just to keep things simple, and I will not be doing any back stitching here, okay? So I'm just going to place this underneath the presser foot. Lower the needle into the felt and lower the presser foot, and I'm just going to start sewing. Every time I approach a corner or a curve, I stopped and I lift the presser foot, and then I turn the card, lower the presser foot again, and continue to sew. I'm going to sew the trunk now and then resume sewing the green bit. Now that we've reached the beginning, I lift the presser foot, get the needle out, okay? I'm going to pull on this loop of thread right after the tension foot and pull the project out from underneath the sewing machine. Now, let me show you what it looks like. Here it is, okay? Now, you cannot see the difference in the stitch line between the brown felt and the green felt, and that's because we used invisible thread. Now let me turn this around and show you what it looks like on the back. Here you can clearly see the blue thread, okay? Hey guys, I'm back, and behind the scenes I've been busy. I had some sequins sitting around in my stash, so I dug them up and I stuck them using liquid glue onto the green felt. Look how gorgeous they look. Don't they look lovely? Now, following that, I took a piece of gray textured cardstock and stuck the top card onto it using double-sided adhesive. And I used the same adhesive to stick the gray cardstock onto this base cardstock, which I folded myself at home using my bone folder. And there you have it. That's your Christmas tree ready. And it's as easy as that. If you found this video helpful or inspiring in any way, please do give it a thumbs up, because it'll really help me out. I'm a new channel after all. Also, please hit subscribe and click on the bell icon so you know every time I post a new video online. I also run a blog called UniCrafts.com where you can find more inspiration to work with your sewing machine. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.